It's bacon time, everybody, and welcome to the Dads with Bacon Talking Sports show for this December 14th, 2022. This is actually our first full show that we have. We had an abbreviated edition a few weeks ago. Some of you may have seen talking about the Michigan Ohio State game. And then, of course, my family got hit with COVID, and then we had some computer problems last week. So here we are a couple weeks later. What I'm going to do for today is bring on some of the guests that we have, and just to kind of fill you in a little bit before we go on with the show. Every week, basically, what the format's going to be is I'm going to have different guests. Some might be return guests. In this particular case, since it's our first show, they're all brand new guests. So what I'm going to do is first have them introduce themselves and give them an opportunity to kind of plug anything they have, maybe podcasts and other things that they have going on. And then we'll kind of get into what happened last week in the NFL and talk about this coming week. So first, I want to introduce Troy. And Troy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Aaron. Hope everybody's recovering from COVID there in your household.
Yeah. It was not as bad as last year. My wife and I had a little running joke that because last year actually our Thanksgiving was ruined because of COVID. I had it, and then the whole family got it. And this year it was pretty much the exact same thing. So we're thinking Thanksgiving may not be our holiday anymore. So we're hoping to get everything out of the way on Thanksgiving, and then
maybe celebrated, right after Halloween, maybe. And then
exactly, yeah, exactly. Well, we ended up. It was funny because my mom got it the worst of it. She did not get it last year, but she got it this year, and her birthday is December 4th. So we ended up. And she was supposed to bring the turkey, so that kind of like, okay, we didn't have any turkey or whatever, and we ended up pushing it back a week to her, or a couple weeks to when her birthday was going to be. So we had turkey for her birthday, so that was all good. But anyway, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks.
Why don't you, like I said, I know you have a podcast, so go ahead and plug that and give us a little background on yourself and your favorite NFL team.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my friend Howie and I, we have a podcast called Stay Tuned with Troy and Howie. We've been doing it about 2.5 years now. And we like to have guests on of all kinds of different backgrounds. Lately, we've really been in the music realm for some reason. We have a lot of musical guests on. So please check us out. You can find us on Spotify. Just look up Stay Tuned with Troy and Howie. We also have a playlist that I made up on Spotify, so you can get a sample of some of the artists that we've been talking to. A lot of country artists from Nashville right now is kind of where we've been hitting a lot. And we're also syndicated on Rowdy IM Radio, which is a Texas internet radio station as well. So yeah, please check us out. Appreciate it. We kind of got started with the show. We had an idea. We actually went to the same high school. We're about 5 years in age difference or so. And we connected at a local radio station, just on an AM radio station that we both worked at. And we had an idea of starting a show there. And it was a very conservative, very family owned station. So we got shot down with the idea. But here we are like 18 years later, and we decided to start this podcast up. So that's where we are.
Hey, better late than never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been a big Buffalo Bills fan probably since about the age of 10 or so, which just happens to coincide with their first Super Bowl in 1990. The thing that really attracted me to the team was at that time the no huddle offense that they were running. I was just such a fan of the quick pace, and it just really drew me in, and I just became a fan and liked them ever since, and dealt with all the heartbreak ever since as well.
No, hold on. Did you say you're from Texas though? Or
no, we're syndicated in Texas. I'm actually from near Hershey, Pennsylvania, if you know where that is.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, sure, absolutely. Okay, yeah, because you know what, I off when I was at your profile, and I think you have if I'm not mistaken, you have a Buffalo Bills like banner or something up. But then I did see that you were from Pennsylvania. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. I haven't met any Bills fans yet from Pennsylvania.
It's kind of strange, actually. I mean, like it all kind of was like meant to be, because I started watching them, fell in love with, like I said, the no huddle offense, all that. And it really intrigued me. And then I just happened to find out that my mom actually graduated high school with Frank Reich, who was their backup quarterback at the time. So like I said, it was just meant to be. Do we still have you, Aaron?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I just heard you now. So see now, I'm wondering if
Okay.
there's a storm going through the Green Bay area right now, which is where I am. So I'm
Gotcha.
wondering if that's messing up a little bit with our. Okay, so
Yeah, there was a little bit
you
of a
were telling
delay.
though about your mom. You were saying something about your.
Yeah, my mom graduated high school with Frank Reich.
Okay.
And at that time, he was actually the backup quarterback of the
Oh,
Buffalo Bills. Yeah. So like I said, it was just kind of all
yeah.
just meant to be
Awesome.
in some weird way.
All right, cool. So now I'm going to bring on John, the next one, next guest. Hey, John, how's it
Hey,
going?
doing good. How are you?
How are you?
Can you hear me good?
Good. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
So why
I'm
don't you?
John Campbell.
Yep.
Can I go? I got a
Yep.
YouTube show
Go
I
ahead.
started back when iCarly was going around,
Okay.
and that was my inspiration for it. And it's called the John Campbell Show. You can find it on YouTube. Like and subscribe it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, John, who's your favorite team?
Colts.
The
And
Colts.
that
That's right.
was
Okay.
my
Ultimate
dad got
Colts.
me into
77.
them back
Okay.
whenever Peyton Manning, even before Peyton Manning. He's
Gotcha.
a Johnny Unitas fan.
Okay.
But it's more of a
So that
father
was
son bonding thing.
now was that back when they were still in Baltimore, right? Or
Well,
was
he
Unitas
liked them
already?
whenever they were still in Baltimore,
Okay. Awesome.
But I've been liking
All
them
right.
ever
So
since a kid,
John, I'll bring on. Sure. Awesome. All right, Chase. Why don't we bring you on? And Chase, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I am a radio broadcaster for multiple different stations up here in Oklahoma. I've done play-by-play, color commentator. I have a show on Wednesday nights from 5 to 6 called The Game Plan on 1640 KCLS, 1390 KCRC, and on CTB Fox Sports. Basically, we just talk about any of the sports that is going on. Today we talked a little bit about the NFL, but we also focused in more on the college side of like how the recruiting class and everything going, transfer portal, that type of stuff. But we talk new stuff all the time. My favorite NFL football team is the Dallas Cowboys. Um, I have been a Cowboys fan pretty much ever since I was born. I think I kind of just got raised into it. Um,
Sure.
but I have every single time I watch them, I feel the heartbreak. I feel the wins. Like right now, they're doing good, and their defense is probably the best defense I have seen from this Cowboys team in a really long time.
and they
Uh,
stole T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, and then with T.Y. Hilton, I'm kind of curious if they're still going to go with OBJ or not. But I do think with T.Y. Hilton coming on, I think they're going to go ahead and pass off on him. But yeah,
Yeah. So now what do you think as far as because the last I heard, Odell Beckham Jr., it sounded like the Colts or the not the Colts, the Cowboys were probably his best shot. Is that
abs-
what you're hearing too, or what are you hearing?
yes, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it is his best shot to probably get to somewhere. But I did also hear that the Cowboys are not they're interested in him still, but with they're concerned about his physical
Hmm.
because his knee's still acting up. They don't want to sign him if he's not able to play this year. I mean, because if he
Yeah.
gets added to the roster this year and if he's ready to play, I mean, that just adds some more star power to the Cowboys wide receiver core and makes it where defenses have to double team, and the Cowboys basically will have like a wide open throw game for Dak Prescott and all that. But I do believe after hearing some things is that their problem right now is they're worried that he may not get to play this year.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Well, hold on one second here, and we're gonna bring in Gabe. And hey, Gabe, how are you?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. a little bit of background about me. I'm just a football coach from here in Texas. I've been coaching for the better part of about 11 years. Started with Texas Tech back when Leach was there as a student assistant. Here most recently, got back from coaching in Europe. And this next season, I'll be coaching indoor football in Billings, Montana. So that's what I have to plug is our team up there called the Billings Outlaws. So it's indoor arena football.
Awesome.
And I also serve as a senior player representative for an agency called Pro Level Sports. So we help athletes get signed to some of these indoor teams, international teams, the new USFL and XFL and stuff like that. So we help guys, progress from college in that regard and keep playing ball.
Awesome. So now do you have a favorite? I mean, being down now that living in Texas, do you have a favorite NFL team or not? Not really.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas all my life. All my family were diehard Cowboy fans to a fault. I'm not a Cowboy hater by any means, but after a while, you get asked the question enough times of who your favorite team is, you have to pick somebody. So I guess about 5 years ago, I picked the Texans. Unfortunately, so
yeah,
been riding that wave since. But it is what it is. My thing is I'll watch 11 ants play 11 cockroaches in football, so it's never a bad Sunday for me.
Sure. Now, I will say I have a lot of friends, or I shouldn't say a lot of friends in the Green Bay area. I know a number of people, though, who have the same mentality that you just kind of expressed, where, they've grown up. In fact, one of them is a huge Bears fan, grew up all of his life right in Green Bay. And his dad's a huge Packer fan. And I remember saying to him, why'd you pick the Bears? Because he's younger than me. I'm 46, so I'm growing up in the 80s. The Packers sucked every year. I mean, no one wanted to go there until Reggie White decided to come, and then Brett Favre turned into the Hall of Fame quarterback that he was. But it really wasn't even Brett Favre being there. It was Reggie White going there, and then Brett just happened to blossom into a great quarterback, and the rest is history. But he had said that the reason why he chose the Bears is because he got tired of all the Packer fans around Green Bay, it was just, and again, being down in Texas is a little different. I mean, you guys have, I think your state alone has like 5 times the amount of people that Wisconsin does, but, and being in Green Bay, we don't have any other teams, so it's like when you live here, you either grow up to like a different team because you can't stand all the Packer fans, or you love the Packers. It's just, it's almost like one or the other. I don't know too many people here that are like indifferent to football, except for maybe my son, which is really frustrating to me. But we won't.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So, So I will. Let's see. I'm bringing them. Or actually, Chase, if you want to unmute yourself, we'll start talking. Start talking about the last week's games here. I gotta bring them up because. So I guess let me just throw this out to all of you. We'll start with. Well, I guess we'll go in order just so that we're not all talking over each other. Troy, what was thinking about Week 14's games? Mm-hmm. What was the game that kind of stuck out to you the most? I mean, there are a number of really good games, a number of surprise games. Whether you want to talk about the Rams coming back against the Raiders, and I guess that wasn't even a game between two good teams. But I mean, I'm thinking of the Lions and the Vikings. Obviously,
that was a surprise.
And they did. I mean, the Lions played well in Week 3 when they were in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I guess my question to you, let's start with that game. Okay. Let's all kind of, we can all kind of comment on that game.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Are the Vikings overrated?
I don't know. I mean, I here's the thing. On our podcast, we do have some of my friends that jump on and we do Super Bowl picks before the season started. And they were my Super Bowl pick to play against the Bills in the Super Bowl. So
that'd be a good one.
When I looked at the schedule and I looked at their record last year, they lost like 8 3-point games last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's got to turn in their favor. They have to start winning some of them close games, right?
Yeah.
So that was like, and they had a pretty easy schedule. It was pretty soft, and I thought they'd make a run. I had them win in the division, and I have them win in the NFC. At this point, I'm still going to stick by it because they're still there. Now, that being said, they do seem to be very lucky right now. The ball is just definitely bouncing their way. Maybe you're going to see that change here, and they're going to have to start relying more on their run game, because I don't think as this weather gets colder and we get into the playoffs here, I don't think you're going to be able to start tossing that ball around to Jefferson and stuff like they do all the time now. I think you're going to have to start relying on that run game. You're going to be playing some cold weather teams. I mean, Philly looks like they got the 1 seed locked up. So if you're going to go into Philly, you're not going to have nice weather there, in the January. Yeah. So no, yeah, I do think they're getting a little bit lucky. But at this point, I'm still going to stick with them as the NFC representative. So
yeah, well, and they say, you hear the experts say all the time about, the good teams find a way to win those close games. And obviously, the Vikings haven't made the playoffs in 3 years, until this year. And I mean, full disclosure, I'm trying to be very, 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 very unbiased. I'm trying to keep this a professional show, but I mean, I will say I really enjoyed that game last week.
But I just thought I thought it was a cool headline as I was going into my picks. Like, you got two teams that were 0-4 in the Super Bowl. You have the Cook brothers going against each other. You have the Diggs Jefferson trade that was a huge storyline. It all seemed to have so many storylines there. So
well, that was
my pick.
I'd be fine with that pick as long as your Bills won. Because I can't. No. Anyway, just a little quick background story. And for me, I think I told you guys before the show started, I've been a Packer fan all my life. Gave tours at Lambeau Field for 3 summers. The summer of 94, 95, 96. That was my summer job. And I didn't, and
what
now
time to be there.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that was the best time. And what was fun about it was, I have kind of a sarcastic sense of humor, and I love to go back and forth with fans. And you'd be surprised at how many fans we had that were Cowboy fans or, Viking fans, Bears fans. I mean, all over the country, we had people coming just to see Lambeau Field, and we'd always ask them, hey. But when the tour started, we'd ask them, anyone here on the tour that's not a Packer fan, people raise their hands, and you go back and forth. And Bears fans, I actually really enjoyed. Like, I gained respect for Bears fans through that job, because that was a time when the Packers were killing them, even though they killed the Packers like basically all through the 80s when I was growing up, and so. But they were really good natured about it. Like I give them crap, they give it back. And it was fun. I mean, that made the job fun. Viking fans, I did not meet. I told my wife all the time, if I was in charge of that tour, I mean, obviously I wasn't the one that owned the company that gave the tours, but if I did, I would have given them their money back and just been like, look, if you're not going to have fun, just get off the tour. Because it was like, you guys aren't any fun right now. And, whatever. So since then, I've had just kind of a really Viking fans kill me.
So everybody remembers the whole Randy Moss thing when he did the celebration and did the moon there.
Yeah.
Now, is that something that the Packers fans do to all the visiting teams, or was it just to the Vikings?
I think it was just to the Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah. And now I will say, and I wish my dad was 83, passed away about 6 years ago. He had some great stories. And if I had my brother to come on, and he's half brother, he's about 15 years older. He has some great stories too, from back when the Bears and Packers rivalry was really going big, And so that was always, they may have done that to the Bears back in the day, but
sure,
the real rivalry has become the Vikings. And yeah. I feel like it's, and maybe you guys especially Chase as being a Cowboy fan, obviously you guys kind of have a rivalry with, I would say everybody in your division. I mean, you hate the Eagles, and the Giants and the Commanders.
It is weird. That is the one division that they all seem to have a strong rivalry with every other team in that division. That's the only one that really seems to be that way.
I feel that way. Chase, what do you think?
Well, I 100% agree, because I think at any given time, all teams in the division can win. Like, you look at the Eagles last year, they didn't have a great season. Look at Jalen Hurts going off this season. Yep. I mean, and then think about, the Cowboys. They haven't, going back, they haven't won a playoff game in a long time, like in the first playoff game in a while. So hopefully the streak ends this year, but heaven forbid it probably won't. But I mean, just a realistic Cowboy fan. But I mean, just the fact that like all teams, no matter what type of game it is, it's a battle till the end, and it's always like you're either all in a losing side of the division this year, or you're in the winning side of it. And it's never different. It's always like, oh, everyone's winning or everyone's losing. Because I don't remember, I'm trying to remember the year back, but it was one year where they were the worst division,
That
and
was
they
COVID
had
year.
the COVID year. They
Yeah,
had the
Washington
worst
won the division at
record.
7-9. Yeah.
Exactly. And one of them still had to make the playoffs, but that was it. I mean, this year it's like not all the teams will make it, but you could very well be like, okay, well, this team could make it over Tampa Bay,
Yep.
Yeah.
that type of
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, and I feel like that, this year that division's the NFC South, which just floored me. I mean, I had a couple friends of mine that did kind of our predictions, and like what's happening in the NFC South. I don't think anybody predicted that.
No.
You would have.
I figured the other three teams probably wouldn't be the greatest. I thought New Orleans would be decent.
Yeah.
But I thought Atlanta and Carolina would really struggle. I thought Tampa was going to run away with that division. I thought they'd be probably 10-3 by now. And I mean, it's just unbelievable that what are they sitting at 6-7?
Yeah, and they're
right
on
now
top of
it's
the
6
division.
and 7.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
It-
Absolutely.
I think a lot of it started changing from when Tom Brady said he wasn't coming back, and then Rob Gronkowski said he's not coming back at all. He fully finished retiring. But I mean, you have Tom Brady, who he was with the team, not with the team. I think that kind of shot a lot of the team chemistry out. But I mean, they're still at top of the divisions. I mean, as we said, 6 and 7. I mean, if they still win it out, I mean, they can make it to a playoff game. But it's
Yeah.
so crazy because two teams are 5-8, and that's Carolina and Atlanta,
And they're
and
right there.
they're right there. Like they
Yeah.
still can have a chance. To
And
make
and
it.
actually, Carolina
insane.
controls their own destiny in that division. Did you know that?
I knew it a little bit, but I didn't think
Yeah,
it was
because they play
100%
Tampa
correct.
again yet. They play Tampa again yet.
Oh,
So if they
wow.
win out, they actually win that division because they'll have the tiebreaker over Tampa then because they beat them twice.
Well, wouldn't that be just crazy because they pretty much just gotten rid of every one of their players. I mean,
Traded Robbie
got
Anderson,
rid of
Steve McCaffrey,
and and then
released Mayfield.
they just cut Mayfield.
He
It
did
was
well
like,
in 49ers. Yeah.
yeah.
I was excited to seeing McCaffrey get a go to the 49ers because I was just like, okay, he wasn't able to get to do much with Carolina, so he moved up. I mean, he was the leader of that team all the way through and through. So I was excited to see him getting to move up. I mean, I was excited as an Oklahoma State, going there, but also a big OSU fan. I was excited to see Chuba Hubbard get in some action as well too. But I agree. I think Carolina, I mean, if they went out, I'm with Troy. I mean, I didn't realize as much that if they went out, they were in. So that's going to be interesting to watch throughout the rest of this season.
For sure. Okay, so going back to last week's games, Gabe, I want to get your thoughts. Bills and Jets. Now, I personally thought that was going to be a deep. I mean, I didn't think that was going to be a high-scoring game or anything like that. But were you? I guess I didn't really feel like the Bills were at all in trouble in that game.
No, and they should
Watching
have been. Right, and that's kind of how you would have expected it to play out going into it, right? I mean, Jets are just dumpster fire after dumpster fire, unfortunately. I really like their head coach. I think he's a great motivator and has some pieces there, but just with all the off-field stuff they continue to have, and I don't know if it's the market that's hard to live in or what, but the Bills just have things together. They're one of those teams that you talked about earlier. They're just going to keep getting stronger as you go along. These cold weather games, those tough, defensive games where they got to just pound it out on the ground and have Allen run around and chunk it up every now and then, but keep things clock management style. So, not a big shocker there. The Jets are going to probably pull out, one or two surprise wins, maybe the rest of the year, but they're pretty much done now. They have, that other kid coming back to back up a guy that is not very good at quarterback. So it's just not a whole lot of hope there whenever you don't know who to play musical chairs at the quarterback position, unfortunately.
Their
Speaking
defense
of
is legit,
quarterback,
though.
definitely. Speaking of quarterback, though, I just want to go back to that real quick. Is Zach Wilson? Is he finished there, or do you think there's any way that he can? I mean, when you bench the guy, and I agreed with the decision. I don't know if you guys did too. I mean, I thought the way he just kind of, in that who did they play? Was that the
New England
Patriots? Yeah, the Patriots loss. When he was just like, yeah, we don't know the defense anything. I mean, the defense played their asses off in that game.
Yeah,
and
when you allow 3 points, you should win the game.
Exactly. And you have that the bad play at the end. But Gabe, in your opinion, as a coach, let me ask you this: as a coach, do you bring Zach Wilson back, or you just say forget it? We got to move on from the kid.
I wouldn't totally just throw him to the Lions, but I think you do sit him, and he needs time to learn. That's not his fault. You drafted him out of college with not a whole lot of playing experience. You put him in a position where he's having to start, pretty much right away. The Flacco, I mean, is a good mentor, sure, but he's not a placeholder guy, to learn to sit behind and learn from, like Mahomes had with Alex Smith or some of the other guys who had the luxury of doing so. So I wouldn't necessarily, just cut them and cut your losses, because you have ultimately, invested money there, and you want to keep seeing what you can do, because he has some upside. He's not terrible. Up until that game, he really wasn't a big hindrance. He wasn't necessarily winning the game, but he wasn't losing it for you either. So I think, long term, I think you get someone there like a veteran, like a Jimmy G who comes back, or somebody like that can take the reins, manage the game, and let him maybe progress a little bit. In a year or two, it could be a different story.
Sure. Okay. All right. So now, Chase, I want to throw this one out. Tell me what your thoughts were on this game, because, I will say I might be one of the last guys to really discover NFL Red Zone. And, this is the first year. I know it's been around for 2 decades or whatever it's been around for. It's been around a long time, and I just finally got it. And my wife and I absolutely, unless the Packers are playing, my wife and I are just stuck on NFL Red Zone. So as I'm watching the complete dismantling of the Tennessee Titans by the Jacksonville Jaguars, what's going on with Tennessee?
Oh man, they're struggling big time. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, he's playing good football, but he's making costly mistakes. And that's one thing Trevor Lawrence isn't doing right now. 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he's giving his team an opportunity to try and even get somewhere in the playoffs. They're second in the AFC South, and they still have a chance to even make it as well. And that's insane. Trevor Lawrence, 3,000 yards already this year. And if you think about it, the interception ratio from last year to this year is insanely different. Last year we're talking about a guy that threw the most interceptions in the NFL all last year, who's only got 6 this year. He has definitely changed and has been more of a leader for this team. And I think that's been a lot of the success for Jacksonville. I do think that there are some things they still need to clean up on, especially on the defensive side. They're just not clicking on all cylinders yet on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, I think they're moving really well. They're getting Travis Etienne the ball, letting him work, do his things. But the big key is Trevor Lawrence not really throwing interceptions this year. He's a 66% passer this year, which is way different than what it was in years past.
Well, yeah, and it does make you wonder. The way he's playing right now under Doug Peterson, if he didn't have to put up with Urban Meyer last year for half the year.
Oh, I think he does better.
Yeah, where would he be now, I guess is my point. He's really, last year was kind of a wash for him. It's how much did he really learn? It would have been interesting to see. Obviously it doesn't matter now. There's no way we can know, but it would be interesting to see where they would be, this year. Would they be, 8-5 instead of 5-8, maybe. I mean, who knows? I mean, where his development would be at this point.
Absolutely. I mean,
I think all you have to go ahead, Jason.
He had 17 interceptions last year, 12 touchdowns. He's already got 20 touchdowns this year, 6 interceptions. I believe the Urban Meyer, and I agree with you, I think it was probably not the best decision for Jacksonville to make, and I'm glad they went ahead and they were like, okay, you had a few games. You haven't won us anything. We're at the bottom of the league again. You didn't do anything. Go back to the college level or be back an analyst, because I think that's what it needed to be done. Whereas you have a Doug Peterson who, if I remember right, he was the Philadelphia Eagles head coach at one time and then moved in, and he kept moving ranks. He has experience in the NFL, and I think that has played a huge factor into Trevor Lawrence's development. And honestly, if I'm gonna be a fortune teller, or if Urban Meyer didn't show up, I think Jacksonville is actually gonna. I would think that they would be a better football team right now, and they would be in the conversation of being like in first, maybe having like 3 losses. Again, that defense needs to get cleaned up. But when you have a coach like Doug Peterson, everything just kind of like molds together, and it allows your quarterback to be a leader on the team rather than having him just being told what to do, if that makes sense.
For
All
sure.
I was going to say was, if you want to, a word of encouragement about Doug Peterson, just look up Carson Wentz and what has happened to him since he's left Doug Peterson.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
Ouch.
Carson Wentz, he was with the Eagles. He got it all done, and then all of a sudden he moved away from him, and now looks what
he doesn't get hurt that year. He wins the MVP. Think about that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
no, 100%,
Yep.
hands down.
That last game with
he
the
played
Colts.
solid.
So yeah, I mean, Peterson, say what you will. I mean, the guy took a championship to
knows
Philly,
his
and look
stuff.
how many times they came up short, and even Andy Reid couldn't get a championship in Philly. So
Just saying.
True.
Don't
True.
teach them. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do one more game here, talking about last week, and then we'll move ahead to this week. And John, I want to get your take first on this. One team that I'm watching as a Packer fan, and yes, I know there's a lot of Packer fans that are going to yell at me and tell me I'm an idiot if I think they actually have a chance, but until they're eliminated, Seattle Seahawks, Packers need to obviously to win out, and then Seattle needs to lose 2-4. They lose to the Panthers, who we just talked about a few minutes ago, are basically just giving away their team.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's going on with Seattle? Do they actually, were they overachieving, do you think, in the first the first part of the season, or
I think they
was that
might have
just a
been.
hiccup?
I think they might have been, but they're getting it all together, at the right time, But from what I've seen from them, they're a pretty decent team. Their quarterback's okay. I think he's like mediocre.
Yeah, well, he's definitely been.
He needs improvement. Is what I'm trying to say.
But he definitely has been rejuvenated a little bit since since when he was back with, wasn't it the Jets?
He's better than
who he
Russell
started
Wilson,
with.
Yeah,
so
Well, yeah, Russell. I think Russell kind of wore out his welcome there in Seattle or something. I don't know, but
100%.
My God,
so
watching that game.
well, yeah, it was
Russell
surprising. Like,
Wilson.
I kind of, I'm watching the Panthers and Seahawks game, and I'm thinking, okay, Seattle has to snap out of it at some point here, and they didn't. And I remember, talking to some friends, who were, again, I don't mean to keep bringing up, as a Packer fan, you're looking at the schedule going, okay, what do we need to work here? And I'm telling you right now, looking at their schedule a couple weeks ago, having them lose to the Panthers was not even on our radar. I mean, it was like the way they played
coming up this week.
Exactly. So actually, that's a good. Thank you, Trey. That's a good segue. I was gonna bring that up. So that's tomorrow night's game.
I mean, Brock Purdy. Holy crap! Mr. Irrelevant in the draft. This guy is coming in, and now is it surprise? Maybe a little bit of it, right?
It surprised me.
You know, I mean,
I
teams don't know
wish-
how to game plan for him. They don't know his strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that yet. And that's all going to come out, and they'll figure him out a little bit. But my goodness, I mean, if this doesn't give the Niners a reason to move on from Jimmy G next year, I don't know what does. Because now they got Brock Purdy, and I'm sure they're going to go back to Trey Lance next year.
Trey Lance, yep.
So,
For
I mean,
sure.
See, I don't know why. Yes, Trey Lance got injured, and yes, you didn't get a full season with him like they were wanting. But I just don't see why you go away from Brock Purdy. I mean, all of a
No.
sudden,
Yeah.
he is such a good quarterback, and I knew it from the end of the draft and everything when he came Mr. Irrelevant. At the end of the pick, I said, guys, watch out. This is probably going to be the best quarterback on this 49ers team. You just have to give him a shot. And he has done exactly what I thought he would do. I mean, he was the best. I think he is probably the best quarterback that ever went through an Iowa State program. I mean, he
Not
led
very
that
much.
team. I mean, I know it's not saying much, but he led them all the way close to a Big 12 championship following to Oklahoma. I mean, he just led this team to more bowl games than probably in Iowa State's history they've ever had. I mean, it's just the whole situation. And you look at how they played this year than how it was last year, how this year they finished below the Big 12. And now it just shows that this Brock Purdy showed so much love into the game, but he played hard. He never gave up on downs. And you're still seeing that today with the Niners. And I mean, I love the fact that the 49ers have made him the starter because it is perfect. Rather than going to get someone else, yeah, you lose Trey Lance, yeah, you lose Jimmy G. They bring up Johnson, but they don't give Johnson the start. They keep with Brock Purdy, and I think that is a phenomenal idea. And I think with that, I think they actually still have a chance of making the playoffs all the way through and still even have Super Bowl contentions as well too, because he can throw the football, he can run with the football. I mean, the kid's just insane.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chase. If it were me and I was running the Niners organization, I would absolutely 100% stay with Brock Purdy, especially if he takes you deep into the playoffs, right? I would give this kid a shot. Trey Lance has not shown me anything yet. Nothing at all. I'm not convinced that he is going to do anything for them. Does he have all the physical tools? Go ahead, Gabe.
You got to pump the brakes a little bit. It's one game. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff that defensive coordinators are going to take from that game. Remember years back, Nick Mullins came in and did the same thing for the Niners.
Yep.
And that didn't turn out very well.
You're right.
They lost Debo. Yes, the running game's rejuvenated with McCaffrey. But your number one receiver now is Brandon Ayuk, and Kittle's getting a little older too. So it's tough. I love Purdy. Like you said, he's going to do what his job is to do. He fights hard. He fought hard all the way to Iowa State. He was a long-time starter there, has a lot of experience under his belt. But before we anoint him the next Joe Montana or great of the 49ers, let it play out another week. Yeah.
But wouldn't you agree in his game and a half now or whatever he's played that he's already shown you more than what Trey Lance has shown you?
It's apples and oranges with those two guys. They're different quarterbacks, and he may fit into that system a little bit more. But Trey Lance, I think ultimately, where's the investment at?
Right. I mean, absolutely. I mean, the ceiling is absolutely so much higher for Lance because of all the physical tools he has. But how many guys do you see that have all the physical tools and they can never put it together? I mean, I'll say as a Bills fan, like I was worried about Josh Allen. I was like, is he going to put it all together? He had all the tools. I didn't think he was going to put it together. Luckily, they groomed him right and everything came into place and he turned into a great quarterback. But that doesn't happen very often. I mean, look at Jamarcus Russell. Just go back through the list. I mean, there's so many.
Andrew Luck. Yeah.
Well, Andrew Luck, I mean, he was a great quarterback. You can't,
he would have been a great one.
I wouldn't compare him to Jamarcus Russell.
No, so as we're talking about the Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, I decided I wanted to pull up some stats and tell you guys what the difference is. So Trey Lance, in his 2 games, he went 15 for 31, a 48% completion rating, 194 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Brock Purdy.
can I be fair there a second though? Because I think one of
Yeah,
those
what's up?
games was at Monsoon with the Chicago Bears. Am I right?
I think it was too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Also,
Well,
no McCaffrey.
Brock Purdy, 45 for 67, 67%, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, and he has a 67% completion rate. Out of 5 games, granted, we can't judge out of 5 because obviously Trey Lance didn't play in 5. Um, I just think Brock Purdy is going to be the way to go. I mean, I get it, 49ers are going to give Trey Lance another shot next year. I mean, you're going to expect Trey Lance to be the starter, even if Brock Purdy leads them all the way to, goes far into the playoffs, and then, if Jimmy G is able to be recovered or whatever, I mean, they're still going to put Trey Lance as the starter next year because they're going to give him another shot. But if not, Brock Purdy is going to be the next guy.
Next man up.
Purdy will make a great starter somewhere else in 2 years.
Yeah, trade him.
Yeah.
I can see that as well too.
So I guess for tomorrow night's
Green
game,
Bay.
Hey,
Right?
If
Hey,
he
what's
can
going to
leave,
happen with Jordan Love? I mean, seriously. I mean, Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers signed this extension, and Love is he
Yeah.
not a free agent after this year, right?
no, he's
I think
so
Jordan Love
he's on another year. He's on for another year for sure. And then they have his 5th-year option that they can pick up. So technically, he can be with the Packers for 2 more years before
You're
he
going to pick up a
becomes
5th-year option on a
an
guy
under
as a backup,
restriction.
though?
According to according to Gutekunst, he did the GM did a press conference like a week or 2 ago, and they asked him about that, and he made it sound like they already plan on picking up his 5th-year option.
Wow.
Because I
That's
think
cool.
I think what's expected right now, and what most of us fans expect, is Aaron's going to come back for 1 more year. And then, because you don't want to leave on a year like this where you played half the year with a broken thumb. I think going into the season, all of us fans and myself included had way too high expectations.
Do you think he would have came back if he knew Devontae was getting traded?
He knew.
I don't.
I
knew
think
before he
no.
made this.
Oh yeah. He knew. I mean, it came out, after they traded Devontae, about a week or 2 later, he had done an interview and they asked him, did you have any idea that this was going to happen? And he said, I knew Devontae didn't want to be here. And part of the problem was the Packers had, at least the way I look at it and a lot of other fans look at it, is the Packers had spent so much time dealing with Aaron's contract that instead of making Devontae a priority, they kind of put him on the back burner. And because of that, he was like, what, screw you guys. If you don't really care about me, if you're all focused on him, and it wasn't there wasn't any friction between the two of them. But it was kind of like, what, if you guys want to put all your eggs in Aaron's basket, that's fine. I'm going to go somewhere else. And
Go be with my best friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what sucked is that, because then who was it? Tyreek Hill, I think, right after Devontae left.
Yep.
Tyreek Hill got traded.
And
I think they got like 5 draft picks for him or something like that.
I think 3 firsts, right?
Yeah. And all the Packer fans like, they're all, we got screwed. We got screwed. You didn't really get screwed. You got what you could, because Devontae made it clear he only wanted to go to the Raiders. That's where he wanted to go. The Raiders knew it. And so it's like, well, are you going to offer 5 picks when you could probably get away with giving them just 2 or whatever?
Right. Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. You're not going to give away the bank when you can, give away a couple bucks here or there, that kind of thing. So the Packers got what they could. I think they ended up turning it pretty much into Christian Watson, which, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Devon. He reminds me more of like a Deebo Samuel in terms of being kind of a Swiss Army knife of offense. Like, he could do whatever. And he's already proven that he can, do the end arounds and catch passes for, he's really coming into his own in the last 4 weeks, which is why I think Aaron's going to come back, for at least 1 more year. Cause I think he wants to see how, if he's healthy, how, they can all do together, so
have time to build that chemistry.
Yeah. And that's, what sucked is that Christian Watt, the first part of the year he was beat up, and now he's finally healthy. And then just as he gets healthy, Romeo Dobbs goes down, and so like I think they said today on the news, because they were talking about Dobbs is going to probably play on Monday night against the Rams. They've only had 5 games together all year, and even the preseason, Christian Watson was kind of beat up and
that
kind of thing.
That was a pretty cool stat that came up on the Sunday night game too, with the Chargers and Dolphins. That Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, that was the first game all season that they both started and finished the game, like when they played the Dolphins. Isn't that insane to think about, with those 2 great wide receivers like that? Like, it
is crazy. And if I had known that, I would have never drafted Keenan Allen in my fantasy football team. But I won't go there. We won't talk about that. No. Okay, so
what's on the slate this week?
What was that?
So what do we got on the slate this week? Who are we talking about?
Okay, so let's see. Well, first of all, let me get your picks. Niners and Seahawks. Since we were talking about the game, who do you guys have? I mean, they're in Seattle. They say Thursday night's the short week. It always benefits the home team. Let's kind of go down there. Troy, who do you think is going to win that game?
Well, I'll tell you what. This one, as odd as it is, like, you want to say Niners right away, right? Because they're obviously the better team.
Yep.
Now, you just said it's a short week, but the Niners do always have a tough time with Seattle too. That always seems to be a close game for some reason.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with the better team here. I'm going to go with the Niners, but I think it's going to be a slugfest. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think it's probably going to be a pretty a good defensive struggle. So I'm going to go like 23-20 Niners.
Okay. John, what do you think?
Well, my gut tells me 49ers, but I want to go with Seattle.
All right.
So which one are you going with?
And the score, I've never done a show like this, And the score would be 19-14.
Who you going? Niners?
Seattle.
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 All right, Chase.
Close game though,
I mean, with everything that I've talked about, I mean, I kind of have to go the Niners way. I mean, with Brock Purdy and how well he's been playing. I mean, Geno Smith, he's been playing good, but the Seahawks haven't been backing him, and that's the rough part. But I also do agree with Troy that this game is always close till the final end, because for some reason when you go to Seattle, and I don't know,
that 12th man.
Niners, I don't know if it's just, any team they see, oh, we're playing Seattle, everything just goes crazy. But the line is 3-3. I'm gonna go with a 3-point as well too. I think it's gonna be probably a low scoring affair. And I'm probably gonna go 17-14. 49ers win. With Brock Purdy setting it up for a last-minute field goal.
Nice.
All right, Gabe, your thoughts?
Like you said, 12th man, it's tough. I think, and I'm not sure if I read this correctly today, but I think they said Purdy is a little banged up. I think
I heard that.
He's got an issue with his oblique, so yeah.
I saw that as well. So I think I'm going to take Seattle. I do agree with everybody. I think it's going to be low scoring. I don't see them combining over 20 points, though. Thursday night games are notorious for being not great as far as action-packed offensive-wise. So I think like a 13-7 game or something like that. And then I'll take Seattle.
All right. So let's now this is the first week that we have the Saturday games too. So we'll pick what is probably looking like the best game on Saturday, which is Dolphins at Bills. That's the night game on NFL Network. So Troy, what are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, so the Bills can lock in a playoff spot with a win here, and also pretty much almost wrap up the East. They would only need one more either win or Dolphins loss or something along the way to wrap up the East.
Dolphins have struggled the last couple of weeks too.
They have.
Are they going to bounce back or what's going to happen?
Well, no, see, that kind of worries me too, right? Because you're due for a bounce back, right?
Yep.
The Bills are the better team. It's in Buffalo. There's a chance for some snow. I think they're calling for up to maybe 7 inches.
Okay.
I think that the weather is going to play a factor in here, much like it did in Week 3 when Buffalo went down to Miami and had all the heat exhaustion down there. So I think you're going to see the tides turn here, and the weather's going to help Buffalo in this game. With the weather being the way it is, again, I'm not going to see this very high scoring, so I'm going to go 24-20, something like that.
Okay. John, your thoughts?
I got the Bills winning again.
Okay. Close game, or are they going to blow them out?
I think it'd be a lopsided score, but only like 20 to like 14 or 10. Yeah,
2010.
something lower. Like a single digit. Yeah.
Okay. Chase, how about you?
I mean, I'm agreeing with Troy. 32-degree weather, and when Buffalo had to go to Miami and have to deal with the heat thing, I think the weather is going to play a big factor. I mean, you see it pretty much every year at this time of the year. Stadiums that are snowy, that are icy, and you're playing on your home turf, the home field has the bigger advantage because, you're used to these weather. I mean, if you look at a Florida team, I mean, I haven't looked at the weather there, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be 32 degrees.
No
I mean,
snow.
Yeah.
not at all,
I
but
think the slippy turf is a big thing too, right? Because I
Yeah.
mean, let's face it, the speed that the receivers have for Miami is killer,
Absolutely.
right? And that slippy turf gonna,
Absolutely.
neutralize that. So
I mean, Tyreek Hill, if Miami wants to win this game, Tyreek Hill is going to have to go off. But then if you look on the other side, you have Stephon Diggs, who goes off as well too. I mean, you have two big receivers that are going to face off in this one, and it's going to be a good game. I think with all the weather pending, they're not going to be able to throw the football as much as they want to. And that's why I think I'm going to have to go with the Bills as well too, just because the weather, but also Josh Allen, he's been playing in this weather for so long. He knows how to throw in it, but also he can run the football in it as well too, because he's been practicing with these conditions. I just don't think Tua is going to uh, uh, be able to do that. I mean, he's having a great year so far. I mean, he's leading this Miami team, trying to get them to the playoffs and all that. But I mean, Josh Allen coming off, some very big playoffs. He has a lot of experience. Yeah, he's thrown 11 interceptions, but he's also thrown for 3,500 yards. I mean, you can't not go with a veteran here on this side. So I'm gonna have to go with Buffalo. But I think it won't be. I don't think it'll be a super close game. I think it may be a 2-touchdown game. So I'd probably have to go 35 to 21. I think will be the final, and Buffalo wins.
hey,
Okay.
real quick, and I forgot to mention this when I jumped in here. I wonder how much having Cole Beasley back as Josh Allen's security blanket's going to help here too, because
pretty good.
he was always the guy that Josh Allen would look to on the third
Mhm.
downs, and he needed to drop it off somewhere. So I'm interested to see how big of a comeback Cole Beasley makes in this offense, because I think he's going to come back, and I think he's going to start in the slot. To be
Absolutely.
honest with you,
No, I agree. I think that's going to be another big thing because, I mean, if you can't find anything open on the wide receiver, your running back spot, just throw it to Cole Beasley. He'll get everything taken care of. I mean, that's what he did. So I think having him back will be a
Yeah.
very big key factor in this one as well, too.
Okay, Gabe, your thoughts?
I agree with almost everything except for the Cole Beasley thing. I don't think Cole Beasley is worth a salt anymore. I think he'll be a non-factor. I also think the passing offenses for both will be a wash with the weather. But I do think it'll be. I'm going to be bold and say they're going to blank the Dolphins. It's going to be like a 21-zip
Wow.
Bills win.
Okay. Wow.
I mean,
That's
wow.
Buffalo's defense is
Boy,
good. I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I got to on my fantasy team. So, but I mean, that's an easy dub this week. But
hold on now. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Gabe's storyline plays out here? What we're going to be saying about the Dolphins 3 weeks in a row, stumbling like that?
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Out.
Yeah.
it'd be insane.
Yeah, that would really suck for my Packers too, going down to Miami on Christmas Day and then having to face a team that lost 3 in a row. Okay, so the next one, I'm picking this one just because, first of all, the Lions have won 5 out of 6. Are they going to win 6 out of 7 here? And then the Jets are kind of fighting for their playoff lives. I mean,
Good
the Lions
game.
are too. The Lions still are alive. So Lions at Jets.
Is that at a pick 'em right now, or what's that line on that game right now?
Well, it says what I have here says the Jets are favored. It doesn't give me lines, so I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe Chase. I don't know. You have your
and it's in
something
Detroit?
handy there. It's in New York.
It's in New York. Okay.
But
The line
Detroit
is
just
even.
Detroit just went there and beat the Giants. So a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago. So yeah. What are your thoughts?
Wow, that's a good game, right? I mean, it's like under the radar game that people looking at the schedule at the beginning of the season probably said, "Oh, there's a 3-13 team against a 2-14 team, whatever." You know what
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Boy, Mike White's banged up, right? Did you see some of the hits he took on Sunday?
Oh
my
yeah.
gosh.
I mean, I gained a
it
lot of
was
respect
bad.
for the guy bouncing back the way he did on a couple of
Oh, it
those. I
was
mean, he'd go
impressive.
out for a few plays and then he'd come back, and it was just like, I mean, they were just teeing off on him.
I tell you
It's
what,
like,
I mean, this is going to be a weird game, right? Because you got the Lions have a really good offense right now. The Jets
Mhm.
defense is, hit stride.
Well, the
But
Lions defense has improved quite a bit over the last few weeks too. I
it
think
has. It
the
has.
the Packers helped snap them out of it,
And I think
in
Yeah.
that game. But
and I think
Absolutely.
that's why I'm going to go with the Lions here, to be honest with
Okay.
you. I just like the swagger. Like Dan Campbell really seemed to have lit a fire under them guys up there.
Yeah.
They are playing for him.
well, I remember
And
people laughing at Dan Campbell when he had his introductory press conference, and he
no
was talking about
kneecaps.
biting off kneecaps and and all this stuff. It's like, dude, you're a football guy. Okay, whatever. So I just remember,
Yeah,
a lot of
100%.
people laughing, including myself. I'm not laughing anymore. I mean, you can get these guys to play. I mean, that the way he's gotten them to buy in, a lot of guys may have given up after his first. I mean, I can't remember what their record was last year. I mean, it was like 3-14, I think, or 4-13, something.
somewhere
I
around
mean,
there.
and one of them was against the Packers at the end of the year when Aaron Rodgers only played a half, and
Yep.
so it's like, yeah, I just he's impressed me, and I know a lot of people on Facebook that are Lions fans or that are from Detroit who just love making fun of the guy, and I'm like, whatever. I would, if he can get those guys to play like that, you can say whatever the hell you want in the press conference. You can talk about biting off anyone's kneecaps. I don't really care.
I'll go Detroit 20, Jets 13.
Okay. All right, John, what do you think?
I'm going Lions.
right.
It's gonna be a good scoring game, but I got 30-20.
30-20. All right, Chase.
All right. So first off, the 2021 results were 3-13-1.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
Oh,
Okay.
the
not-
Steelers. That's right. They
not
tied the
the best
Steelers.
football season for him, but I'm kind of torn on this one because you have Jared Goff, who has been playing really good football from last year. I mean, a lot of people are talking about
Mhm.
maybe the Matthew Stafford Jared Goff trade wasn't good. But now look at what Matthew Stafford, granted he got injured, but look at what he was doing before he got injured. And now look at Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is now thriving with this Detroit team. He's finally found the chemistry for it. Williams has been going off all year long, and I'm happy to say he's on my fantasy team, so he is getting me some wins on that side. But
I got St. Brown on mine, so I'm pretty happy with that too.
I don't have one.
So do
I have
I.
St.
Yeah, so
Brown
do
as
I.
well
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
I mean, so in my fantasy realm, I need to go with the Lions because got to win fantasy points. But as trying to figure this out, the line is even. I didn't know if you guys heard me say that or not. So
Yeah.
there's no line whatsoever. But I think Detroit will get this one done, not because of the fantasy part, but I think it's just because Jared Goff has been playing extremely well football here in the past few games. I mean, he's led this Detroit team from, not having a winning season last year to now 6-7. I think they go even, and I think they're still really close to getting that spot, and it would be insane to see Detroit Lions get in that playoff spot because it would be the first time in how many somewhat years, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I think their away record is 2-3. I think they'll even it up this week to go 3-3. With Mike White, kind of pretty much he's questionable. He went to the hospital after the game. I mean, after getting all those hits and everything. They haven't said if he's able to play or not, unless you guys know something on that.
He said he's going to play. He said he's going to play.
Okay,
but that's not official.
Absolutely. And with him being banged up and everything, I think that is going to play a big factor in it. Kind of like what Gabe was saying about Brock Purdy, him being, banged up and, on that whole side. I think it's going to be the same route, but I think Jared Goff, I think he's going to take it. I think this game is going to be probably a 28-14 game. I think I'm going to go 2 touchdowns just because Jared Goff has all the veteran experience, but also with Mike White, with him being banged up, injured, and we don't know how many snaps he's actually going to get to take because of, we haven't really heard anything from the hospital report. We haven't heard anything. Like, it's been all kind of quiet on that realm. But I'm going to take the Lions 28 to 14.
Okay. Gabe, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll keep mine short. Just Lions hands down. I don't. Who cares how much they're going to win? My thing is, if any of you guys have not watched the Hard Knocks with the Lions from this past season, I strongly suggest it, because if you watch that, you'll see exactly why this team is buying into Dan Campbell. I mean, this dude can make anyone run through a damn wall for him. I love it. I mean, he's this whole thing he preaches about grit, all that kind of stuff. It's true. He's building these guys, and they've gotten hardened over the season. I really like that team. I know they're not where they want to be, but it's a fun team to watch. I think they'll for sure win.
Yeah. Well, and I was, when I saw that they were, I mean, obviously I knew they were playing on Thanksgiving, as they always do. But when I saw they were playing Buffalo, I was just like, oh, I don't know, this is going to be. But then, and early in the year, I thought that was just going to be a bloodbath. They're just Buffalo's going to go, nuts on them. And then as they start, again, after they beat the Packers 15-9, and then seem to kind of turn things around a bit. I was, and I'm not. It's not that I dislike the Bills. I mean, I have no problem with the Bills whatsoever. But I was kind of pulling for the Lions, and I wouldn't have been normally if the Packers were having a good year. But the Lions, I feel like, are one of those teams, like we talked about the NFC East and how, like any team can kind of win it every year and, and whatever, and they all hate each other. In fact, they were talking about this the other day on local, I think it was yesterday actually, on the local 107.5 here in Green Bay. Like the Lions are kind of like the lovable losers, I think. And, other than a few years when Stafford had Megatron, they really were always, the cellar dwellers. They were terrible, and so it's like, now to see them actually doing well, you kind of like, okay, I mean, I don't want them to be, I still want the Packers to win, but yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
I'm happy for them.
It's kind of crazy to me to think that, you have a franchise that probably had the greatest running back to ever play, and arguably the greatest receiver to ever play, and they don't have a Super Bowl championship behind either of them guys. It's incredible.
Yep. Okay, we'll do one more game because we're kind of going long here, so I want to kind of start wrapping it up. The last game, Giants. This is the Sunday night game. Giants Commanders. They played, I think, 2 weeks ago to a tie. Both kind of playing for their stay in the playoff race and everything. Giants have been struggling lately. Obviously, we all know Taylor Heineke has been doing well with the Commanders. They kind of, Ron Rivera's got them playing a lot better, I think, than most people thought they would be. So, Troy, what do you think of that one? That's in Washington, by the way.
If you don't mind, why don't we go down to Gabe here and let him talk in first here? Because I seem like we always seem to take all the ideas out of his mouth. So.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you guys are good. I appreciate it. I was really fortunate this off season to go down and watch the Giants training camp. You have to be in New York at the time, and I saw what they did, and I was a lot higher on them than most people were, just from kind of seeing the pieces they had. And it makes sense that they've done so well this year, especially like we talked about the division being like kind of anyone's game type thing. Aside from the Eagles kind of overachieving to this point.
Sure.
I think the Commanders still have a lot of growing to do. I think Heineke is playing his ass off. I think Ron Rivera is coaching his ass off, but ultimately I think the Giants kind of resurface and show what kind of team they are. So I think it'll be close, like most of those games are. So maybe like a 28-24 type game. But I think the Giants will still win.
Okay. All right, Chase, how about you? We'll just go opposite order there.
I'm gonna have to. Personally, I don't know. on this one, just because, Daniel Jones, he's been playing pretty solid, but I mean, again, New York is kind of on a downfall, but also Taylor Heineke coming out of like nowhere just starts showing up and I mean doing his thing. And I agree, Ron Rivera has got this team moving. Like it's been a different Washington Commanders team. I mean, early in the season, I would be going New York all the way. I mean, because I mean the way they were playing, they had everything clicking. I mean, Saquon Barkley was going off, but now here lately, um, I've started noticing kind of like a decline on some of his running, some of his yards that he gets per game, just because the defenses are starting to realize what New York is doing. I mean, they look to see if they're able to find the option, but if they can't, they're just automatically running the ball. I mean, it's kind of like the same of where you're guessing what they're doing, but you're getting it right pretty much every time because they're running almost the same play every time. And that's kind of where I'm falling out of the New York Giants hype train. And I think the Commanders are actually going to get this job done, which actually is a big thing because I mean the Cowboys and Washington are probably one of the biggest rivals in that division. In the whole thing, yeah, the Eagles and Dallas are big, but I think this one's even bigger because if you go back in history on how many close games they've had, I mean, it's a very impactful rivalry. But I do think the Commanders will get the job done. I think Taylor Heineke has been doing a great job, and he's been doing enough to get it taken care of in against Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. And I'll go score prediction. I think it'll be a touchdown game. I'll probably go. I like my low scoring, but this one is in Washington, if I do remember,
Yep.
it's 37 degrees. Okay, yeah, I'm going back to a low scoring affair. It'll be probably 21, and I would probably say 21-14, and I'll go Commanders.
Okay. All right, John, how about you?
Well, I like Washington Commanders. Trying to get used to saying their name.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the old rest. But I think they're gonna win by a touchdown.
Okay.
28-21.
Okay. Troy, how about you?
Okay, so this is a tough one too. I almost feel like the Giants are like the Bills, junior team, like they're affiliates, like because when Brian Dable left,
the minor league team, Triple
Yeah.
A.
yeah. Like when Brian Dable got the job there, he took over all these ex-Bills with him. We're here to start this team up. So I got a little bit of an affliction for them. Like I kind of like them a little bit, because of that. But they are just so ravaged at the injuries, especially at the wide receiver position right now. Saquon does seem to be a little bit off right now, and I don't know what it is. I think he might be a little banged up, and I could be wrong there, but I think he's a little banged up.
Okay.
So with that being said, as much as I want to see the Giants win this game, I think Washington just has it rolling right now. So I'm going to take Washington. I'm going to go 30-20.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So, and I know, before the show, I was talking to you guys about, doing a different segment.
Sure.
We're gonna put that on hold just because again we've gone a little bit longer than I was planning, but it's been fantastic. I want to jump though to especially Gabe. I want to start with you. Again, everyone knows about the passing of Coach Mike Leach yesterday at the age of 61. Way too soon. When I heard about it, and obviously I think was it Monday that he had the heart attack and had gone to the hospital, and everyone was saying it was very dire, and were calling the family in and everything else. And I was trying to actually think of, because full disclosure, I mean I've always been a Badger fan, so I mean it was I've never been a fan of like Mississippi State, Texas Tech, or was it Washington State that he coached? Or Washington State. So I didn't know him personally at all. Like Gabe, obviously you said you coached on his staff for, was that one season or however long you were with him. But he just seemed like a real genuine guy. And I don't remember
Straight shooter, right?
I don't remember in the last, I don't know, like 20, 30 years, losing a coach really in any sport, like in the middle of a season. Usually a coach passes away, they've been, retired for 20 years and whatever. You're like, oh, I didn't remember they coached. Okay, cool. But, so Gabe, why don't you start us off? I'm going to give all of you a chance if you, want to say anything about your thoughts on Coach Leach.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like you said, it's the timing of it is strange because we don't typically see that. You don't see a coach pass away during his actual career. Usually, it's later and in life and whatever. But he's just someone that was for the teams that he led. He was kind of a larger than life figure. He was actually a practicing lawyer for a long time. I mean, brilliant guy.
Sure.
Very, very intelligent. He loved hobbies. His big thing was pirates. He would go into these recruits' homes and do a magic trick, and as a way to try and sell them. That was his big gimmick, was doing a magic trick. And then he was just one of the most brutally honest, in the best way possible, kind of guy. He didn't sugarcoat stuff. He was very, big on hard work. I was lucky enough to, cross his path. While I was at Texas Tech, I was a student assistant. I didn't have many dealings with him personally, but I remember the first time I met him face to face, I was walking by the football training facility, and he was outside trying to figure out a BlackBerry. He had just gotten a brand new BlackBerry given to him by the football department, and he had no idea what he was doing. And he just those little quirks were what people remembered about him. He would spend a lot of time at the local watering hole by himself, and anytime he had opportunity to be around coaches and clinics and meetings and stuff, he would just kind of hold court. So definitely unfortunate. He really revolutionized the game. With his spread air raid type stuff that he did and innovated, and I think it's obvious to see the outpouring of affection on social media, how much he really reached people. So yeah, for sure. It's a bad deal, but I think a lot of those memories that are coming out of him, the stories from ex-players and ex-staff members are pretty neat, because you get to kind of peel back the onion a little bit. And if you guys haven't read any of his books, highly recommend it. He's got Swing Your Sword. He's got one, Geronimo, that's about Native American life, which he was really a huge, he loved to study that, those just that life and those tactics. So, if you guys are interested and want to have a decent, quick read, and kind of, familiarize yourself with him more, definitely check it out.
Awesome. Chase, what are your thoughts?
Man, it was just too soon. I mean, this. I have never, in all my years of watching him coach and seeing him, I have never ever heard anything that is negative about him. Like, he is always the guy to make funny videos or like mess with the press. I mean, there's videos of him that was like, someone asked about like the mascots, and he had a full conversation about what mascots would beat who. Like, he was that type of funny guy. He was a guy that I like to watch growing up, seeing where he's been. I mean, he's coached some phenomenal coaches that are still coaching to this day. I mean, look at Baylor. Dave Armanda was under Mike Leach. I mean, if you want to go into the Lincoln Riley route, I mean, who was at OU then went to USC, he was coached by Mike Leach. I mean, and I believe, if I remember right, Dave Armanda was actually working with Mike Leach. He wasn't a part of like, he wasn't playing.
Sure.
At the time, Lincoln Riley was a wide receiver, if I remember right, on that side. But it's just insane seeing how much he grew a football program. I mean, Mississippi State, he grew that program. I mean, that program yeah, they had Dak Prescott at one point, but besides that, they haven't been really relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think with Mike Leach coming along, they've actually became one of those relevant programs that were making bowl games. I mean, look what he did with Washington State. I mean, he about took them all the way to the playoffs. Almost put him in a New Year's Six. I mean, like he was just that guy that could lead teams, and everyone that I've talked to and everything, um, we're all sad. Granted, I'm in a different generation, but he still hit my generation and it hit hard. As I've talked to a lot of my buddies, and that I think some of them actually like teared up when they found out
Mm-hmm.
because it was just so sudden, and
Yeah.
it was like you just don't expect that. And 61, that's young. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's not old. If people are like, "Oh man, no, that's young." He still
Yeah.
has a lot more life to live. But I was very upset seeing him pass. But um, his memory is going to live on long, forever for many coaches. Um, he definitely, I don't know if they've decided, but he definitely needs to go into the Coaches Hall of Fame. I mean, there's no ifs, ands about it.
Yeah.
Um, like he was that guy, and so that's kind of my thoughts on him, but he was a
Awesome.
terrific guy.
Awesome. All right, John, how about you?
Mike was a good coach. I didn't follow him regularly. Like he wasn't part of my team.
Sure.
But I never heard anything controversial about him. Like there was no headline about him. So I've
Sure.
liked him about that. He stuck to his players.
Yeah,
And my thoughts are with him.
absolutely.
With his family.
For sure. All right, Troy, how about you?
Yeah, I'll kind of echo the sentiments there, John. I haven't really followed Mike Leach's career too often, but
Mhm.
you knew his name, you knew who he was.
Yeah.
Um, you knew that you were going to get an honest interview with him when the press would ask him questions. You didn't, like he said, you didn't hear his name in any controversies or anything. He was, like I said, right when we started talking about him there, he seemed like a straight shooter. Like he was going to tell you how it was. I think Gabe even said that, like, for better or for worse. And maybe, he wouldn't be as brutal as some people would be, but he was going to tell you the truth in one way or another. And I was just kind of looking at an article here as you guys were talking, and Chase had said there, Lincoln Riley had played under him. Tennessee's coach Josh Heupel was with him.
Mhm.
West Virginia's Neil Brown, Louisiana Tech's Sonny Cumby, Cliff Kingsbury was, I think he was a player under Coach Leach. In fact, he was at Texas Tech, right, when Leach was there, right? So,
Yes.
just you're going to see more of this coaching tree go, and obviously the air raid offense. Everybody knows what that is at this point. That's a football fan.
Yep.
Yep.
Think about how many teams use that now. I mean, maybe that's not the staple of their offense, but they have it in their playbook, you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean, rest in peace to a coaching legend for sure. And, as Chase said, 61 years old, that's just way too young. I mean, that guy could coach at least another 10, 15 years yet. So, it's a shame.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I did
He'll be
hear
in the
that,
Hall of Fame.
yeah, for sure. And I did hear, due to they did keep him on life support as long as they could because they did end up donating organs. So
Oh,
That's
okay. Well,
Yeah.
and I guess to kind of touch real quick before we finish the show here on, I was actually a little embarrassed um, for my lack of knowledge about Mike Leach. Like I said, I mean,
me too.
you hear he's not one of those guys that everybody talks about, like an Urban Meyer or Nick Saban or anyone else. But yet I didn't realize, to be honest with you, how big his contributions were. I mean, I'd heard the air raid offense and all that kind of stuff, but I had no idea he had this kind of coaching tree. And I mean, admittedly, I follow more NFL than I do college. I'm more of a casual college fan, but I, as I was listening to interviews and listening to other people, in the industry, giving their thoughts, and it was just like, I can't believe I didn't know more about this guy. But I mean, the one thing I really took away from everything, I happened to turn on the Jim Rome show was on in my car yesterday when he was talking about and replaying some interviews that he had done with Coach Leach over the years. And I mean, one of them, he was giving a bit of advice for people in, and I can't remember what area it was in California, but he had done an interview with Jim, and Jim had asked him, if one of my clones is taking a girl out on a date, in whatever neighborhood this was or whatever area of California, and Gabe, you're kind of nodding, so maybe you heard that interview. Where should he go? And Coach Leach was like, well, there's this car wash with on the corner of, and he mentioned the corner, and of course Rome was like, I know exactly where that is, and he's like, it's got the best Mexican food in there, you got it. And then Jim is like, Coach Leach, are you telling my clones to take a girl on a first date out to a car wash? Oh, absolutely. It was hilarious. And so many people in this industry nowadays take themselves way too damn seriously.
Yeah.
Especially at the level of a guy like him. And so, yeah, I guess it was just, I mean, it's sad anytime you lose somebody, like you said. That, I mean, I look at him like, he's only 15 years older than I am, for crying out loud. And I don't, whatever. But I wish more people would take their cues from a guy like that, who just, he could talk to you about the air raid offense, and then next, 5 minutes later, he'll be talking to you about aliens or whatever, like a conversation about anything like that is just really, really cool. And I guess I would just reiterate what all you guys said, just way, way too soon. And I mean, very, very sad for his family, and not that it matters, but around Christmas time, around the holidays, it's like you hear about that, you're like, damn, man,
it's gonna be rough.
That kind of thing. So, anyway, want to thank all of you guys for coming on. I appreciate your time, and hope you guys had a good time as well. Check out Troy's. Stay tuned with Troy and Howie. Is that right?
That's correct.
Name.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
check
Spotify,
that out.
Yeah. Or anywhere you get podcasts, really. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Check out Chase in Oklahoma City. Check out Blake Gabe. If you're, I said Blake. We had Blake Martinez on the Packers. See, I see Martinez. Check out Coach Martinez down in Billings, Montana is where you're going to be soon. You said?
Yes, okay. Sir, yeah, for sure. Check us out there. Support your local indoor football team. You're there in Green Bay. Go check out a Green Bay Blizzard game. If you guys have indoor ball around you, go support them. It's a lot of fun for the family. Those guys play hard and are trying to make their way up. So
yeah, they do a great. The Blizzard do a great job. And I haven't had a chance to take my kids yet over the last couple of years, but I definitely want to. So, and then John, what's your podcast again? Or you said
my
you stream?
Show is on YouTube, and it's the John Campbell Show. You guys can like and subscribe it. Trying to build up the channel.
Awesome.
It's mostly on everything. I keep politics on there.
Okay. Cool. And for everyone watching, if you haven't watched, or if you're watching earlier, or if you're going to watch later, check us out tomorrow night. We're doing the Dads with Bacon, talking games, movies, all kinds of entertainment. So we have that show starting up tomorrow night, Thursday nights at 8:30, same time. So take care, guys. Again, thanks all you guys for joining me, and enjoy the upcoming weekend of football.
Go Bills.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, will this be on YouTube or
Yeah. We'll be putting it on YouTube. We're on our Twitch channel, which both of them are Dads with Bacon TV. You can find them on both YouTube and Twitch.
Subscribe.
Absolutely. Okay. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend or rest of your week.
Yeah, you too.
Yep.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.